Scarefest Radio is sponsored by Spirit Mechanics for your spiritual health and well-being. Find them on Facebook. MECHANIX. And by Coyote Chris Sutton, bringing light to the darkest places. CoyoteChris.com.
The opinions, viewpoints, and beliefs presented on this program do not necessarily reflect those of the management, the affiliates and broadcast partners, or the sponsors. Listener discretion is advised.
And hello everyone, and welcome to Scarefest Radio, where I have spent the day dicking with my computer, changing stuff around and making things more attractive visually and audio-wise, and I don't know if it's going to work or not, but so far, so good. The original broadcast date is November 11th, 2018. We are on the run-up now. I feel like we're already... This has got to be a marathon, and I feel like we're already practically... What did I say the date wrong? Tonight. What? You said 11th. November 9th, 2018. I'll fix that in post. Anyway, the point is, it's Scarefest Radio, and this is supposed to be a marathon, but I feel like we're in a sprint because there's just so much stuff going on. Now, of course, tonight, my... special guest from the Hollywood Ghost Hunters is Mr. Rick McCollum. Notice how I said that correctly this time, Rick?
That sounded wonderful.
I can almost roll the R and give it a real Irish brogue, but then it falls apart after that and my tongue gets tied. My co-host tonight is Coyote Chris Sutton, fresh off an interview on another podcast. That's
right.
So he like called me like 2 minutes until before showtime, and I couldn't figure out how to add him to the call and all that shit. But
what is this? What's a Scarefest Radio without drama, Wes? I mean, come on.
You know, there's always got to be something. Just like tonight, myself, for example. Notice how dark and mysterious I look tonight. I'm wearing a dark shirt, and the lighting in here, I guess my bulb's getting ready to go out. But I feel like I'm sitting here halfway in the dark, and so I have this mysterious look. But even with that, you can still see my glorious winter beard coming in quite nicely. So just
did you say white nicely? Because it looks pretty white to me.
Well, it is. Yeah, I'd talk.
Getting like me.
I would talk. Yeah. That's the theme for tonight. People with gray beards. That'll just be. I just want to point out, my viewers, mine still has more color than both of these dudes put together. So, there's that.
Yeah, their color's coming off a bottle too.
Yeah, not the kind you think. And tonight, because the weather has taken such a turn for the crap in Kentucky, this is the first time I think I've drank coffee on air for months. But I am enjoying my coffee tonight to stay warm and toasty and cozy as we come up on Scarefest. Whatever. That's all. That was my show notes. I had nothing exciting happen this week because we had some deaths in the family. And I don't want to make light of the deaths in the family. It's always tragic. But I married a woman from not eastern Kentucky, but as close to eastern Kentucky as you can get without actually mining coal. That's how far into the hills that my wife grew up. So these funerals, they didn't even have them in the same county. They had the viewing in one county, and they had they had the actual funeral in another county, and then just for spite, one of them had the burial like a whole nother county over. So I've spent. It's not even that I spent all week at funerals. It's that I spent all week on the road driving back and forth between funerals and grave sites and on these roads that, if it wasn't for the blacktop, you would expect goats. That's just all I'm going to say. So.
Yep.
And the crowd goes wild. I actually have my applause hooked up now. So I'm working on my sound effects board. I got a few sound effects I got to capture. A few movie quotes, as you were. A few movies, so I can get back. I'm getting back into the radio mode. And now that I can hear my voice, I'll probably start going into full on radio voice during the show, and that will just, I know, excite everybody to death. Anyway, enough frivolity. Everybody, let's give a nice warm welcome to Mr. Rick McCollum.
Thank you.
that was overwhelming, Rick. Tonight, everybody. Okay,
I'm not supposed to welcome myself. I just can say thank you when you welcome me for coming. Yay for me!
There you go. There you go. This is Scarefest Radio. You got to throw in a little self-promotion and bullshit along the way. Now, everybody tonight, in the past when we've had Rick on the show, we always spend a lot of time talking about his movie career and stunt career and all this. Tonight, I've been friends with him on Facebook now, and dude, are you even still in the movie industry? Because all you Facebook about is your ghost hunting, and I love it. Don't get me wrong. But so I wanted to have him on tonight just to talk about his exploits and where all he's been and what he's learned in the paranormal field.
Well, I tell you that whether I'm still in the movie business, I just finished stunt coordinating a movie called Acts of Desperation, which I saw at the premiere the other night. It's actually really good. It'll come out probably in March. Otherwise, yeah, I'm out there talking to dead people.
I feel like I was surprised that it was such a big part of your life. I know we've talked about it before, but just the conversations that you have on Facebook, unless I just totally ignore the movie ones, it just seems that you're always talking about ghost hunting, someplace you've been, something that somebody said, whatever, some experience you've had, and I don't, like I said, I like it. I like it. So that's where I wanted to go tonight. Now, first of all, you traveled. I guess it was this year in spring. Was it this spring that you went overseas? And of course, I guess it's not even the first time.
It's actually June. I went to Scotland for a month.
Okay. Now
I do that actually every year. I go every year for a month back there. I really like that place.
When you go, now because of your position in the industry, do you have? Or if I go to Scotland, I'm stuck going to all the tourist traps. Do you know the people to get into the good spots when you go over there?
Actually, I've met quite a few people that take me around to the really good spots. I have a friend of mine who was the general manager of the Real Mary King's Close, which is a very famous attraction. It's an underground city from like 1500s. I was able to set up a para-unity ghost hunt there with 3 other groups that I've ghost hunted with in England and in Scotland before. So, yeah, I've been to some of the best places in Scotland and some of them in England also, just because of people that I've met while I've been there.
Now, we covered some of this before when we've talked about ghost hunting with you, but tell me the story again about what triggered your interest in the paranormal and ghost hunting in particular.
Actually, I'm kind of glad you asked that, because there's been an update on that whole thing. When my grandfather died, I was 13, and my mom and I, we didn't have a great deal of money, and he wanted to be buried in Paducah, Kentucky. And we jumped on a train, had him on the train, and because he had died suddenly, everything was off the cuff, trying to get everything done. And to try and save money going to trying to catch a cab or something to go to the cemetery, we looked for a hotel that would be pretty close. Well, we found one that was very old. It was 2 stories. And when we walked in, now I'm 13 years old, right? I wasn't especially close with my grandfather. Didn't really know him, hardly ever saw him. But we get down there and we walk in and my mom says, "Do you have any rooms?" And the guy goes, "Well, I have one left, but I hate to tell you this, but it's haunted." Now, I'm 13 years old. I'm like, woohoo! This is like the golden ticket to Disneyland, man. I am in. Let's go. All right. So we go up there, and this room is about 22 feet across, and it's wooden floors, and it's got these windows where you can see the neon coming from outside. It's up on the 2nd floor. And in the middle of the night, I hear my mother scream. And I look over and I see her bed is rolling pretty quickly across the floor towards me. So I look over to see it, and I realize that I'm moving towards her. And we smacked together in the middle of the room. And, I mean, that was a little unnerving. I mean, for going like 10 feet each, getting, shoved into each other. But this is 51 years ago. And nobody had really known about ghost hunting or anything, but we were smart enough to come up, try to debunk what had happened. And our first thought was maybe a truck went by and, because the beds were on rollers, that maybe the floors were warped. So what we did is we put the beds back and shoved them as hard as we could. And they'd only go about 3 feet. So then the next thing we did is we took a glass and put it on its side and roll it, and it wouldn't roll. So, I mean, the floors weren't warped at all. So we could not really figure out what might have happened other than something paranormal. But here's the update. I've been looking for 25 years to find that place because I want to go back. And I put it up on Facebook, and somebody said, I think it's this place. So I went on their website, and the first room I saw was the room that we've been in. So found it.
So have you got a trip planned yet?
Yeah, I'm just getting ready. I'm actually thinking hopefully they'll invite me back to Scarefest and I can just zoom down the street to Paducah.
Down the. I don't even go to Paducah, and I live here, dude. But okay, yeah, Paducah. It's like over yonder. Okay, let's go ahead. We're going to take our first commercial break. Everybody, will be right back with more Scarefest Radio. Our guest Rick McCollum, and we'll turn it over to Chris when we get back. Stay tuned.
Oh, no, not that.
Do you feel lost in life? Do you seem to be stuck in emotions that are not yours? Is your home not the sanctuary it should be? Contact Spirit Mechanics, where they take a team approach to your metaphysical and spiritual problems. Spirit Mechanics specializes in aura cleansing, stone attunement, attachment removal, and house cleansings. Spirit Mechanics tailors their approach to your individual spiritual path and needs. Find them every month at Lexington, Kentucky's Mystical Fair, mysticalfairlex.com, or on Facebook by searching Spirit Mechanics, that's MECHANIX. Spirit Mechanics, for your spiritual health and well-being.
Important announcement. We are corrupt and have sold out to corporate interest. Do not take anything West says seriously.
And welcome back to Scarefest Radio. And this is why I always had the commercials muted to the guest. They get back there and they do crappy things behind the sponsor's back. So anyway, everybody, I'm going to turn it over to Chris here in just a second. I just wanted to remind everybody, we do have a 3-day pass. A 3-day pass to Scarefest XII, Scarefest 12, Scarefest 2019. We're going to give it away at the half-hour mark via Facebook. We're going to do it on the main page, the Facebook Scarefest page. Not the group, the page. I'll tell you more at the half-hour mark. Everybody, over to you, Chris.
Rick, it's good to see you again, buddy. First thing I got to say is that, we were at we met again last year at Scarefest, and actually it was this year. It's the last Scarefest, and I took my wife for the first time, and she was. I mean, she still talks about going and everything, but probably I think you're one of her two favorite people that she met, and it's because you're one of the most fun people to talk to. And usually, you go talk to the stars and, they want to sign the picture and get you away. Shoot, you kept the conversation going longer, because you just enjoyed talking. And it was, it made such a big impression on her and on me too. And, you're just one of the good guys in the business, man. And it's always a pleasure to see. It's always good to hear from you. And, I want everybody to know that, Rick McCallum's a great guy. And I'm glad I got to be on the show with you tonight.
Well, I'm glad you're here.
Yeah. Do you want me to record that for you and send it to you?
Yeah, I'd like to play that back every morning when I get out. That'd be nice.
So, you're a part of the group called the Hollywood Ghost Hunters, and you say I've got the hat, and
I love it.
The dark is afraid of them. Yeah, I actually got this hat. I got a signed picture and all sorts of cool things when we got together with Rick, and so you're with the Hollywood Ghost Hunters, and that's you. And Kane Hodder, and I can always mispronounce his last name, so I'm not going to try. Mihailoff, is that even closer?
Mihailoff.
Mihailoff. Okay, all right, I was there. Okay, and so how did you guys, you Hollywood guys, stuntmen, that sort of thing? How did you all hook up and decide you're going to go hunt ghosts?
Well, it was actually by accident. I have been, ever since the first thing I just told you about, the thing that happened in Paducah, I have been actively hunting ghosts since then. Kane has been arguably my best friend for the last 37 years because we do a lot of movies together. We used to live in the same apartment complex. But we were doing a movie in Mansfield, Ohio at the Reformatory, and that's where they shot the Shawshank Redemption and all that stuff. And it was late at night. We had just finished. Everybody else was gone. And we were all the way back at the very back of the prison. Now, if you can imagine, there's no light back there except for the moonlight coming in from outside. Now, it's like maybe 2 a.m. And 5 stories of cell blocks, if I recall. And they're a couple hundred yards long, and they're all rusty. I mean, it is the perfect place to do a horror movie. It's got the ambiance. It's creepier than hell. Uh-huh. And we're walking along, and Kane says to me, he goes, "Hey, why don't we ghost hunt?" Yeah, I never knew he was into that. So anyway, we started ghost hunting, and as we're walking along, the corridors are very long. And I look all the way down at the end, and I see what appears to be a shadow man walking across, our path. And I turn around and look over my shoulder to tell Kane, and he's gone. I'm looking back there like, oh, what the hell? Even the scary Jason guy runs away. What the hell is going on here? And I turn back around and I see he had gone this way behind me, and he's like running down the hallway towards it. Right? And I went, all right, if I ever get to start a group, this has got to be the co-founder.
There you go.
So,
yeah.
Right then is when Kane and I started the group. And then R.A. likes to say that we needed, somebody pretty. So we asked him.
Okay. Yeah, he's a pretty guy.
335 pounds and looks like a mad rhinoceros.
Oh gosh. Yeah, that's you guys are all picture pretty. There's no doubt about that. So, okay now, does Rick Knapp go on with you guys sometimes too? With
Steve.
I'm sorry. Sorry, Steve.
Yeah, Steve will pop in with us every once in a while. Steve and Kane have an interesting friendship. They go all the way back to when Kane lived on Kwajalein Island, and Steve was his good friend back then. So, he'll come out with us every once in a while.
Yeah. So, what was your first gig as a Hollywood Ghost Hunters? Where'd you guys go first? Not counting the chance thing at Mansfield, but
the very first place we went was the Omen House. And the Omen, it's not O-M-E-N, it's O-M-A-N.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
It is actually the house right next door to where the Manson family killed Sharon Tate. And it's also the place that's been on several things. Ghost Adventures had a big to-do with David Omen.
Yeah.
Yes. Because they left in the middle of the investigation. And it's a very scary place. It's I've been back there many a time, and it's very active. There's a lot of stuff that really happens. In particular, the second floor hallway. And what I've always done is I'll take a night vision camera, and set it on the floor. That way you can't get anything saying walked underneath it or anything like that. So it's on the floor, and I was shooting down the hallway. And 2 times I've gotten really bizarre things in the hallway. And we do that when we're out of the house. The entire structure is empty. So when you get anything moving in there, it's really interesting. So we've got some thing. If you go to HollywoodGhostHunters.com and look up in the evidence section up on the top, it'll have a drop-down box. If you go to hallway 1, hallway 2, and see a thing with it says the lights, those are all in that hallway. And they're all interesting. I mean, it's like people ask me what it is. I go, I have no idea what it is. There's things moving in there, and there's nobody inside. That's all I can tell you.
Wow, I've heard the Omen House, and there's some pretty wild stuff that goes on there. So you mentioned Ghost Adventures, and the first time I saw you guys together was on the Ghost Adventures episode that you shot with Zach and the guys. And I know we kind of talked about the last time you were on, but I've got I had an experience where I got to shoot with the guys over the summer at a place where I live. And so I kind of got to know them a little bit. What was your experience like? Everybody's got opinions about the Ghost Adventures. They have opinions about Zach. And so how would you find your experience when you film with them?
Well, first off, let me say something in Zach's behalf. Zach, number one, is a lot more intelligent than people think he is. And I mean, people think he's smart, but I mean, he's very smart. Second off, he was the first person that I interviewed for my magazine. And I also stunt coordinated the movie he produced. So I know Zach, a little bit. He's a really good guy. I mean, really good guy. And if you know me, I don't BS. I'll tell you straight up.
Right.
Zach is a very nice guy. Matter of fact, when I was on the movie, the people there didn't realize I knew him because I'd just come in. And one guy goes, "Oh, Zach is really pissing me off." One of the guys that worked there, and I'm like, "Really?" And the guy says, "Well, what's the matter?" He goes, "Well, I'll tell him," you say, "Zach, I've gone on a couple errands for you, can I get some gas money or something?" He says, and he'll reach into his pocket, he'll grab a couple of hundreds, 200 or 300, and he'll say, "Here you go. Will that cover it?" He says, "If you need some more, just come back." And I was like, how can you put up with that kind of bullshit? I felt like, if I could run errands, I mean, come on.
Damn.
Pretty lucrative thing.
No kidding.
One thing about me and Kane, and RA as well, we're very protective of our name, so that we watch them like a hawk, and not because of who they were, but because of who we are, right? And we wanted to make sure everything was above board. And as far as anything that I saw, everything was done to the letter, right? So, I give them my endorsement, and I got along great with Aaron. I got along great with Nick Groff. I still talk to Nick on occasion. Still talk to Zach every once in a while. So I actually really like those guys. I think they're really good dudes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was my experience with them. Zach was very polite to me. We didn't talk very much. They were doing a place called the Mineral Springs in downtown Alton, Illinois, which is where I live. And they, were gentlemen. I did most of my work with Aaron. Like I said, I can't say I've met Zach twice now. I can't say anything bad about him. He was pleasant, and that's all you can ask for. But I will give him credit for sure. He is very precise about what's going on. I was watching him. He goes, he watches everything. He wants the right angle. He's very particular about what's going to be on that show. And I admired that because he was involved with every shot, almost everything that was going on. Had really cared about what kind of product he was doing.
Yeah, that's one thing about him, and I noticed that on the movie when we were doing it too. He was always watching to see what was going on. Like when I was setting up, a couple of different scenes, he'd come up and I'd say, "Okay, Zach, this is what I'm doing," just so you know. And he's like, "Oh, that's cool," right? So one thing that I think a lot of people don't understand about Zach is he's kind of quiet in real life.
Yeah, that's true.
Not sure. Some people say, "Well, he's kind of standoffish or something." He's not. He's just kind of quiet.
Yeah, he strikes me somebody who's, like Aaron was saying that, we've done 300 of these, and all that time and some of the place they spent, and honestly, in some cases they were egging on the spirits and things like that, and that's got to take its toll. And they're dragging some baggage with them. You can tell, but so I can understand. I'd be kind of concerned, and I would be kind of quiet, and I'd be very careful with myself. So I don't blame him for being kind of standoffish or or just being quiet. That's him. It seems to be who he is, and I accept that.
I consider him a friend. I mean, it's not like he calls me and we hang out, but if I was to bump into him, we'd probably have lunch together. I mean, I like the guy. And like I said, everything that they did while we were watching was above board, so they get my seal of approval. Yeah.
Now, the show that I shot with, I mean, I might not even be in it because you never know in this business. You could spend all these hours of time with them, and you're not on the show, and that's fine. That's nobody gave me any guarantees say I was gonna be on it, but it was fun to do. And one thing I noticed and I knew this place like the back of my hand. I investigate there all the time, lead investigations there. And we went down to this one place, and Wes, you've been there, down to the basement in Mineral Springs. It's really spooky. There's some really crazy stuff down there. But we all got down there, and it was Billy and Jay and Aaron, and the place just got lit up. I mean, I didn't do anything. You could feel all these things going. Rocks are hitting the walls and things like that. So their very presence seemed to set things off. And I wouldn't say this if I hadn't seen it myself. I'm hearing more stuff than I've heard, and I've been down here 40 times. So stuff does happen when they're around, and so I'm not saying, I would not say that they're faking stuff. I would say it was above board too, from what I saw. I mean, nothing was faked in front of me.
I mean, just to be honest with you, I have seen a couple shows that were a little nebulous on some of the they were promoting. I won't say who they are. That's not my business. But Ghost Adventures, I'll say, is the real deal. I mean, and there's no doubt that they realize it's a TV show. They play it to television, but that's what they're supposed to be doing. Yeah. So I say good.
Somebody, people criticize these shows and things like that. And one guy made a real good point. I think it was the guy from Darkness Radio, Dave Schrader, said that I saw him in a tweet one time say, you can say what you want about these guys, but for all you guys out there doing all this paranormal work, these guys are making that happen because people are interested in it now, and they'll come out to your little events, and people pay attention to what you're doing because of these types of shows, and so it kind of opened up a lot of doors for people.
Well, it actually helped our group because the first person that really helped our group was George Norrie, Coast to Coast.
Mm-hmm.
When we got on there, after we were on, we had about 75,000 hits to our website.
Yeah.
Actually, I've been on there quite a bit, and his senior producer, Tom Danheiser, writes for my magazine now. But it's amazing to me how some people don't seem to see who the trailblazers are.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Sure. Ghost Hunters and these guys. Yeah.
Ghost Hunters deserves a lot of credit. So, Ghost Adventures, and now there's like 5,000 TV shows.
Yeah.
And frankly, they all can't be good.
No, they can't all be good. You're right. It's like any other television. There's thousands of sitcoms. They can't all be good. So that's very true. I will say, you're right. You're on certain shows. Your popularity goes up when the first time I was on Scarefest Radio with Wes, I think 7 more people followed me on Twitter, and about 3 people unfollowed me, I think, though, too. So I had a net gain of 4.
Blame Wes.
Yeah, that's right. I'll take the 4. That's okay. That's good. We're at the bottom of the hour, so it's time for our next commercial break. So I'm going to turn it back over to you, Wes.
Everybody, you're watching Scarefest Radio. Our special guest tonight is Mr. Rick McCollum. We'll be right back, and when I come back, we're going to give away a 3-day pass on Facebook.
Coyote Chris Sutton.
Shamanism.
Spiritual advisement.
Paranormal investigations.
Inspirational presentations.
Bringing light to the darkest places for over 20 years. Go to CoyoteChris.com to learn more. And welcome back to Scarefest Radio. Okay, everybody, let's get the shit that goes on behind the scenes here. You all just have no idea. Anyway,
I was feeling lonely, Wes. I had to go get some company.
Okay.
I think
It actually wasn't you. It was what Sutton was doing over there. Like he was in a panic that while I was on camera, you were gone. Anyway,
Sutton, this is not my first barbecue.
Yeah,
I've done
I know.
75 movies. I know when you're coming back.
okay, my Facebook page ever loads here. I am going to give away. Well, on tonight's show announcement, not the video itself, where I actually announced that Scarefest was starting at the top of the hour on the Scarefest main page. I shared it to the main page. That's how you can tell it's tonight's banner, but it's not the video. This is something that came up before the show that we discussed, so I'm going to throw it out there, and you all can imagine what we're talking about. But I want to see someone post on tonight's banner, where I shared it tonight, zombie makeup with crayons. Zombie makeup with crayons. So that will be the what I'm looking for. If my Facebook page ever loads, I might have to do it on my phone. But regardless, okay. While I'm waiting to see who wins that, back to, real quick on Hollywood Ghost Hunters. So did Danielle Harris stick with it? I see you all made her a member a few years back. Does she ever still get into it with you all?
She does, but we haven't been able to get her out lately because one of the problems with us all getting together is RA's usually in Pennsylvania. Kane is usually at a convention someplace or doing a movie. Danielle just had her second child. So, I mean, it gets a little bit harder getting everybody together. So, but yeah, she's still an active member, and she's fun. I got to tell you. She's a scrappy little person.
You just sent a chill of old age through my body when you said she just had her second child, because I just assumed she was like 12 or something. I don't know. Anyway.
Well, you keep thinking of her as the little girl in Halloween 4 with the scissors and the clown suit.
Exactly. Okay, I did find the... Hey! Gail, that was quick. By the time I found the post, Gail Joba, or Jaba, I'm not sure how to say your last name, but Gail Jaba, you have won for posting zombie makeup with crayons in the correct spot. So,
way to go, Gail! All right.
Okay, I'm going to write her name down.
You have a prize worth more than gold.
Well, it's worth $60, so you know.
$60 worth of gold.
Anyway, okay. When you Rick, when you go into the field, what do you take with you? I mean, now I'm not talking. I realize. Okay, let's separate this. When you lead one of these celebrity ghost hunts, like you did at Scarefest last year, I realize okay, I'm sorry, you're not ghost hunting. You're herding cats. But when you actually, when you and the team actually go out, whether it's for pleasure or whatever reason, but when you're out there with the team actually doing serious ghost hunting, or by yourself, or however you want to look at it, what are your go-to items that you want to make sure you pack with you?
Well, you know, I've got a new one. I've got a new one that I've fallen in love with, and I think we've got a little kickback there on the volume, on the sound.
You sound good.
Can you guys?
Yeah.
Can you guys still hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. The one thing that I really like that I've gotten recently is the FLIR, which is thermal imager for your phone or your tablet, and I have found that to be very, very helpful. And it's very small. It's only this big. It's just an attachment for your phone, so you can keep it in your pocket. But what I generally take is a K2 meter, voice recorder, night vision camera, and the thermal imager. And I mean, that's small enough that I can cart it around, and you know, that to me, that's more than enough stuff. I mean, I know people come out with all kinds of computerized programs and things like that, but I mean, I've been doing this so long. I used to have to, use chalk on a blackboard to, write down what I was finding, So I think a lot of people over technology themselves, you know. So I think just those pieces have gotten me some pretty good stuff. As a matter of fact, the thermal imager gave me something that is one of the best pieces of evidence I think I've ever gotten. There was this real nice African American lady named Donna who called me up and said her house was haunted and could I please come over? So I grabbed one of my guys and we went over there. And this girl is like somebody that belongs on a sitcom. I mean, she's bubbly and just happy as can be. And usually when I will go in a place, I will feel if there's a spirit. It's one of the reasons I'm so drawn to ghost hunting is because I think the spirits are drawn to me. I mean, it's always been that way my whole life. So I go in there, I go through there with my equipment and everything else, and I don't feel a thing, not anything. So I go downstairs and I say, Donna, I don't think your apartment is haunted. And she says those words that every ghost hunter doesn't want to hear. She goes, oh, I don't think so either. And I'm like thinking to myself, why am I here? Right? And she goes, well, I think something's attached to me. Okay, so I'm trying to think, how can I quantify that there's something attached to her? I can tell her the symptoms and everything else, but how am I supposed to prove to her that there's something attached to her or not? And it dawned on me, she just wanted to feel better. So what I did is I took the K2 meter and I ran it over. She said, see, Donna, there's nothing there. And I said, let me get the night vision camera. And I took the night vision and I said, see, Donna, there's nothing there. I don't think you have anything to worry about. I said, let me try the thermal imager. And I looked through the thermal imager and I went, uh-oh. Right here, there was a spot roughly about this big, a black spot on her stomach. And it was roughly, if you know the coding and stuff for the heat on the thermal imager, it was about 30 degrees colder than her body. Right? So I'm like, what is this? So I asked her all the questions. Do you have a cell phone under there? Did you have a cold drink? You were sitting there leaning, waiting for us. Do you have anything under there? And she goes, no, there's nothing under there at all. So the first thing I thought was it was a camera anomaly. So I asked her to walk up and down the stairs. And when she came back down the stairs, it was in the same spot. And so I took a couple pictures with it. And I'm thinking about this. And finally she goes, well, what do you think it is? I said, well, Donna, the first thing you should do is go to the doctor. You may have a blockage and that's causing a circulation problem. I said, I'd go tomorrow because this is obviously something very significant. I said, from what I've learned in my things, if you want to get rid of something, you have to throw it out. And she goes, well, what do you mean? I said, get mad, tell it to leave. It's your body, right? And she goes, well, how mad do I have to get? And I said, well, how about this? Imagine you walked in and found your boyfriend having fooling around a little bit with your sister, right? And she goes, that mad? I said, yeah, that and then some. And she says, do you mind if I use my faith? I said, no, please, go ahead. And the dumbest thing I ever have done was not filming her because she was freaking awesome. She takes her little hands and she throws them over her head and she yells, the power of God commands you to leave. And I mean, I thought I was watching, Moses at the Red Sea. She's going, get out, get out. And I mean, she was so impressive, I almost left, right? She was sincere. So after a minute or two, she stops and she's kind of worn out. So I let her cool down. And I said, all right, Donna, let me see. And I clicked, picked up the thermal imager and the spot was gone.
While you were telling that story,
I can't explain that.
I like that. See, I'm not a big fan of, like you pointed out, I am a fan of technology when the person using the technology understands the technology. I see a lot of that with the blinky light stuff. They just say it measures energy, and that's as far as the explanation goes. The FLIR on the cell phone, I do want to play with one of those because I understand how a FLIR works. Can no one tell time? Hold on, Mr. St. Booth. We will get to you. Anyway, so I can't. I'll have to call him back because it's not letting me add anybody tonight. Anyway, I love doing live radio.
Great.
The FLIR, I like it because it's a understandable technology that is not part of the cell phone. Basically, your phone acts as a monitor. The FLIR does all the work on the attachment that you're talking about. I get nervous when I see these people using all these cell phone apps, and I'm not saying they don't work, but I don't understand how you can expect your cell phone to do all the things that people are trying to get it to do with the different audio apps and the
I know exactly
all
what
kind of
you're
environmental stuff, all kinds of environmental stuff. If this cell phone could do that, I just think the Mars rover could have been built a lot cheaper.
Yeah, look, it's a cell phone.
I mean, I get that question all the time, Wes, from people. Do I like the telephone apps? And my answer is, personally, I don't use them. And the reason I don't use them is, what is in the telephone that could possibly be reading the stuff that it says it is? It's a telephone. It doesn't have, stuff for any energy transfer. It doesn't have anything like that to pick up anything. How is it? I can understand it picking up audio when you have the voice recorder on. That's a good tool to have. But I mean, all of a sudden they've got spots over here, spots over there. There's a spirit behind you. There's one over here. There's voices coming up. It's a miniature computer. It can put in anything it wants. So I pretty much go away from that, because I think if I ever got groundbreaking evidence, I would have to debunk it myself.
Okay, just so that he quits calling, we're going to go ahead, everybody. We're going to get Christopher St. Booth is.
All right.
I think he's calling from his. I think it was a phone call. I don't know if it was a Skype call or a phone call. I should have looked. This show's going to take some editing. Okay, let me. I tell you what. I think it shows him online, so let's try to add him now and see what happens. Let's do.
Hello.
Okay.
I'm telling you, we all tried calling you.
I know you did. The problem is you tried calling me 5 minutes early during a live broadcast.
I can video. Maybe I can video? No?
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah?
You can try it.
I don't know how that works. Hold on.
That's Rachel Booth, everybody who's on the phone with us.
Hello?
Yes.
Hello?
Do I need to call back to do video?
You shouldn't. You shouldn't. You should be able to click your little camera icon.
Okay, I have 3 people telling me what to do. Hold on.
Listen to the correct one.
It's always a toss-up.
There you go.
Ah.
Oh, thank you, Christopher. Okay.
There's Rachel. There it is. Oh, golly. There she is. There he is.
Christopher.
Oh, wait, Layla.
Yeah. There's Layla. Yeah.
Okay, now we're all here.
Drinking people, yes.
Everybody, okay. The reason for their appearance, and I'll let them tell you a little bit more about what they're doing. Back the phone up, man. Gee whiz,
Rachel,
I'm like seeing Rachel's pores. So.
Oh.
There you go. There you go.
I don't know why is this so cool? What is going on
maybe
here?
I'll just do it like this, maybe.
Is this better?
Where's the bloody camera?
I don't know.
There we go.
There you go.
Yeah, that's perfect. The everybody.
Okay, tell them what we're
there
doing.
We go. Yeah. Tell them what you're doing here.
Did I freeze? We are at Inner Light this weekend with the lovely Layla and Beverly, and Chip Coffee is here.
And me.
And Christopher.
And me. I think I'm here.
Jody, he's here. Oh, Jody, you're there. I'm Christina Breen. Hi. And Rachel. Hi. The other Rachel.
But of course,
we're
right
in
now,
and you gotta come down
Right.
to the hotel.
Clarion.
Sinus medicine.
I'm sorry.
Sinus medicine.
They will never have me on this radio again.
Rachel, love your hair. Your hair looks great. Your hair looks great, kiddo.
I'm sorry. I'm trying to hear. I'm okay. I couldn't hear. Can you hear?
He complimented your hair. Everybody, Rachel and Chris are appearing at the Interlight Festival this weekend. There's the banner for it. Just say, whoops, that's the wrong banner. That's the other one I'm talking about. There's the other one. That's the one I'm looking for. The Interlight Festival. Featuring celebrity guest Chip Coffee, professional psychic medium, and spiritual advisor. So, okay,
they got
so anyway.
some good signs here.
This is why we can't take Christopher anywhere. Well, not you, Sutton.
So everybody,
that's right.
Okay, before I let you all go, I do have to ask one question. Why are you on the website? You're just mixed in with the vendors. You didn't even get top billing. I love you two. I think that the Interlight Festival should have put you on the front page with a big old banner saying,
"Okay,
look at these wonderful, wonderful people."
What? Why are you starting stuff, Wes?
Yeah.
Because when I'm around Layla, that's what I do. But everybody, do check out the Interlight Festival. It runs this weekend. Starts tomorrow. What time does it start in the morning?
What time does it start tomorrow? 10. It starts at 10. And we'll be there.
You guys are on the featured celebrity.
No, we're the surprise guests. We're hidden.
Yeah, we're kind of like a gift.
We're the eclair.
We're the... say that you were the guest, remember?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
No, we're the filling in the chocolate. The filling in a chocolate eclair.
Ooh.
See, Chip is the chocolate, but we're the filling.
We're like the inside. It's like the ganache. We're the
Chip is the annoying.
They're dropping stuff.
Chip is the. Wes.
Wes.
Wes is the annoying.
That is the wrong person. Sorry.
Okay. So anyway, they will be appearing at the Interlight Festival. Check them out. I'm sure they brought their CBD oil and all their other neat stuff. And the important thing is, though, how many times
we have CBD items.
We have
and we have
CBD thongs.
Beverly has oil. Beverly has oil. We have fabulous Ouija boards. We have Christopher's amazing books and DVDs and his underwear. And I have jewelry. No, they're taking
I don't want his bloody underwear. No way.
Christopher, you want my bloody underwear?
No, I don't.
So everybody.
Yeah, Rick will take it. He's cool with it.
But we're really excited about this weekend, and we hope everybody comes down and meets people and talks with everybody and have a really good, positive, and beautiful weekend. Because I know we're already starting, and we love everybody here. So we have
love you too, kiddo.
And we have a special guest. Oh, hold on. We have the most beautiful, lovely.
You're in trouble, Wes.
Beverly. You are busted, Wes. Busted.
How am I busted?
But you always say,
And why is he busted?
well, I don't know, but you're always up to something.
You was starting stuff.
You're probably starting stuff, causing trouble.
That's because this is my profession, my career, and I take it all very, very seriously. Okay, everybody, we're going to finish out the show here. We got just a few minutes left. Thank you all for calling in, and we're going to
see you guys. Take care.
Like I said, Interlight Festival.
Everybody come down.
Lexington, Kentucky. Go to the web address. The web address is interlightfestival.com. Okay, now. Yeah, Rick, you're on camera. Now, okay. I'm just going to say, what just happened is the reason I said it's really hard to fit a live call into somewhere into the middle of an episode. I'm making that point for everybody. Now, the other thing I do want to plug while we're doing plugs, which I accidentally hit the banner when I was talking about that. The Louisville SuperCon. November 30th through December 2nd. No, I do not know if I'm going to be there. They ain't said a damn word to me. But the point is, Scarefest has a booth there. Scarefest has a booth. So if you're going to Louisville SuperCon, November 30th through December 2nd, be sure to check out the Scarefest booth and say hi. There, now we can get back to business, as they say. We can get back to our guest, our special guest, Mr. Rick McCollum. So we were talking equipment before I so rudely interrupted you. What I like the story with the worst thing I see people do with the FLIR imaging, especially on the cell phone, though. Now, this is not one of those situations, obviously, but the worst thing I've seen people do with them is they think because it's a FLIR that it has infinite range. And especially at Waverly Hills, they will point that thing down a hallway, and all kinds of weird little shapes will creep out the doorways, and that's because the one on the phone, I'm guessing, the manual probably says accurate range like 20 foot. Is that about right?
I would think, yeah, 15 to 20, maybe around 20 would be pretty good, I think.
Yeah, and they forget that all of our technology has limits, even when we're using this consumer grade technology and shifting it over to the paranormal. They think just because it's there that they're it's infinite. It'll work for anything. But like I said, that's on my wish list. If I had to get one piece of paranormal equipment, I think that would probably be what I'd go out and spend my money on.
Yeah, I think you'd be happy with it. I actually ghost hunted one night on the Queen Mary, and was outside, and actually I could get from one end to the other where I could see the whole ship and everything else. But like Wes was saying, things down at the farther end would look like people, and they weren't there. It wasn't people. It was actually other pieces of equipment, because it wasn't quite as, be able to pull a focus for that far. But it was good for taking like the picture of the ship, so you get an idea about the hallways and stuff like that. But if you're trying to use it for evidence, it doesn't have unlimited range.
Now, one of the shows, and it might have been Ghost Adventures, not to bring them up again, but there was something on my wish list years ago. When the FLIRs really got popular, and I'm talking about not the cell phone ones, the big handheld ones. One of the things on my wish list for equipment that needed to be made was the thermal imaging aspect, but with a video overlay. Now, I kind of pictured it as being able to tune into the FLIR spectrum versus the visual spectrum. But that way, if you saw a weird shape in the distance, you could tune it back to a video and kind of get an idea. Oh, it's a damn table, that type of thing. There is a version of it out now, and I saw it briefly. So in other words, you still get the FLIR thermal color scale, but you get an image with it, so that you've got a little better idea of what you're actually pointing it at. And so that's just a little inside baseball stuff for the ghost hunters out there. Of all the places you've been, I'm going to ask you this two different ways. First, personally, because you talked a little bit before about how you like to tune in. That's what I do when I go to a haunted location. You kind of open yourself up to the experience. Is there any place that really stands out experience-wise? It doesn't mean, I don't mean the walls bled or anything, but just the most haunted from your own personal opinion, feeling-wise.
It's quite a few. Sloss Furnace in Alabama was very haunted. Waverly Hills had some really interesting things. The area around Roslyn Chapel in Scotland, the cemeteries, the castle, and everything else, very haunted. If you ever go there and happen to see a tall gray-haired guy, like 1 in the morning stumbling around out there, it's usually me. That's a very haunted place, and just walking along out there through the forest. A lot of people don't know that area right there is the first place that William Wallace ever used his guys to attack the British. It was like right there, and there's 40,000 people have died in that forest. So there's all kinds of energy when you walk through there. To me, that's one of my favorite places to go. I'll go stay there for a week, and at night I'll go out every night by myself and walk through there, unless one of the other groups comes over and wants to go. The Omen House is very haunted. The most haunted place I've ever been is in England, a place called Bolton Abbey, and everything about that place is haunted. I could talk for hours about what happened at that place, but Bolton Abbey, if one of these TV shows wants something to happen, they should go there. I was around the corner, so I didn't actually see this, but there were 6 people that were with me, and I trust them. You know, one was facing one way, being the leader of the group, and the other 5 were facing him, and he was telling them all to kneel. And I was there with 2 bouncers from Liverpool who would also come along, and we saw some movement and light from around the Abbey. So we started to walk around. We got maybe 20 feet away, and we hear all this chaos. And we come back and we see the one guy standing up, the first girl standing up, the next girl's on her knees, the next guy's on his knees, the next guy's laying on his side, and the last guy's laying flat on his back, totally knocked out. So I'm like, what the hell just happened, right? So there's a fence there, and they're trying to revive this guy, and I do the safety stuff a lot of times on movies, certified and a whole bunch of stuff. So I told one of the bouncers, I said, go get him, bring him back. So he goes over and he picks this guy up like a bag of wheat and runs over and he throws him over the fence, and me and the other bouncer catch him. And while we're sitting there, he's out. I mean, this guy's dead weight. He's out. We lean him up against the one bouncer, and he's leaning there, and he starts getting the micro shakes, which, if you know some things about first aid stuff, means he could be going into shock, which we don't want. Or it could be, if you know ghost hunting, something's trying to attach to him. Mm-hmm. So I figured I would go with the shock part just to take care of that. So I put him on the ground, and we got his feet up, and we covered him in our coats and things like that. And finally, after about 15 minutes, we got him awake. And I asked him what happened, and he was like, I don't know. He says, all I remember is you slapping me in the face a bunch of times. Right? But the weirdness about this, all these people were around, right? I mean, as soon as it happened, nobody walked off to talk to each other or anything else. And let me be very explicit. I trust these people, okay? So and the reason I keep saying that is the story is so outlandish that it's hard to wrap my head around even now. I asked what happened. And the one guy who was trying to run the thing is a psychic medium who had his own TV show over there. The girl that he was talking to is a soldier. And he was telling her to kneel. And she says, I'm not going to kneel. And he goes, don't you defy me. And she goes, don't talk to me like that. I'll rugby tackle you off this altar. And right then, that's when we came back, because we heard her yell, no, or stop, one of the two. And what had happened, I said, well, what happened? What did you yell stop about? She goes, I saw what looked like a goat's head with no eyes come through his face right at me. She says, so I yelled stop and ducked. So I asked the next girl, I said, what did you see? And she goes, I saw the goat's head, right? The third guy, he didn't see anything because he was already looking down. The fourth guy had said the same thing, except for he said something a little different, which gave it a little more value for me. Instead of them all saying exactly the same thing, he said it looked like a ram's head with no eyes, but still close enough in description to be the same sort of thing. So that was very weird. But earlier in the night, one of the girls that invited me, Mandy, who is a psychic medium, had a cross from the Vatican. And there's one place they say if you come in there and the spirits don't want you to leave, you can't go through this gate. And as she got to the gate, I was behind her, and I saw her chain yank up like this and give her a big friction burn on her neck. And I was behind her, right? So I said, well, keep going. And she got to the gate, and she stopped. She goes, something doesn't want to let me to leave, right? I said, just go, right? And she goes out. And then the soldier girl, who isn't afraid of Godzilla, she goes up and she stops at the gate. And she goes, something doesn't want me to leave either. So I said, just go. So she pushes her way on through. But here's the second part of the story. When we were taking the guy who'd been knocked out, me and one of the bouncers, Peter, we've got him under our arms and we're pulling him. He's like half dragging him. He's got his head down. And I am thinking, what's going to happen when we get to this gate? He doesn't see it, right? Well, we got about 10 feet from the gate, and he jerked his head up, put his feet down, and started pushing backwards, like not go through the gate. Well, that's not going to help him when you got guys like the size of me and Peter. We just picked him up and ran him right through the gate and threw him in the truck and drove him away. But to me, that was really interesting that 3 different people reacted, including one guy who wasn't even looking, had no idea where he was, and was about half out of it. So very interesting place. There's a lot of black shadows there. The soldier came out, and she saw me standing over there with my K2 meter, and she goes, how long have you been out here? I said, 15 minutes. She goes, I just followed you in from the Abbey. And I said, no, you didn't. She goes, well, there's a big black shape. I said, wasn't me. Because I always wear black, except for when I'm on, Scarefest Radio. I wear my red. So Bolton Abbey in Yorkshire, England. If you're ever ghost hunting, go over there. It is very, very haunted.
Now, one last question I have. I'm going to turn you over to Chris to throw in the final question of the show tonight. But people in the chat room were asking the California wildfires. How close are they to you, Rick?
Close enough that I can stand on my balcony and see the clouds. So I mean, they're fairly close. The other thing too is the shooting that just happened out here.
Mm-hmm.
That was the one that I used to go hang out in to listen to country music.
Shit.
So
Chris,
a lot of strange.
That's scary. I mean, just the magnitude of both things, happening in basically in your neighborhood. This massive fire and this terrible, terrible act.
We have lots of fires out here in California. I mean, if you live out here, you finally realize that our seasons are earthquake, flood, fire, and riot. That's our 4 seasons.
Yeah, I understand that. Okay, I guess for my last question, what does the future hold for Rick McCallum? What are your dreams? What are you going for?
Well, what's funny is just to show you how powerful Scarefest in itself is. One of the people from Scarefest called me up and asked me to play a part in a movie they're doing next year.
Wow.
So I thought that was pretty cool. I am actually going to Lep Castle in Ireland in March, which is a big thing. And I just got back from a celebrity thing with Barry Fitzgerald, ghost hunt up near Bakersfield, where they're trying to raise money for a dog and cat shelter.
Oh, neat.
And this is a very depressed area. So they made a fair amount of money off the people coming. We had a sold out thing. But they asked me if I would bring something, that they could sell. So I said, yeah, okay, I'll bring you something. And I told the one girl, when I got up there, they all came running around. They said, did you bring it? Did you bring it? I said, yeah, I told you I'd bring it. So they said, show us. Can we look at it? And I said, yeah. So I gave them the box to open up. Inside, there was a hockey mask autographed by Kane. So they put that up on the website, and that actually had a little bidding war and sold for $200. So they were like deliriously happy about it. So, what's next for Rick is writing the next issue of the magazine, Hollywood Ghost Hunters Mag, hghmag.com, hghmag.com, totally blunt plug.
It's okay. We sell our souls on Scarefest Radio.
And that's pretty much what's going on for me right now. I'm really concentrating on the ghost hunting. I mean, things are actually happening around me and things more often than they used to, which is kind of interesting to me. So I'm trying to figure it all out.
Yeah. Well, you talked. I mean, I have to end with a story, and you'll appreciate this, I think, Rick. So a friend of mine, he's done some work for, when Wes knows him, his name's Jared Boots. He's done some graphic work for us. And so he hasn't asked me for any money or anything. I said, well, Jared, what can I get for you? He goes, I want Kane Hyder's autograph. I said, no problem. I'll do it for you, buddy. And so I go and I pick the picture out. And now Jared spells his name Jarrad. It's an unusual way to spell it. So I went up to Kane. Hi, Kane. I'm getting this from my friend Jared. He really loves your work, and he's a big fan. And he couldn't make it. Okay. And so I said, now, would you make it out to Jared, Jarrad? He puts the pen down, looks me square in the eye, and says, that's not how you spell Jared. I know, Kane, but it's like, that's how he spells it. And he goes, no, that's not. I mean, he's kind of like, I'm like backing up. I said, no, man, really, I swear to God. And so finally he looks at me and goes, okay, just writes the Jared. I was like, he wasn't going to do it. I paid money and everything. He was, no, that's not how you spell Jared. I'm
not misspelling somebody's name. No.
Yeah. So, yeah.
I will tell you something before we go. You talk about the fans and things, and the fans are wonderful. I mean, this year I had probably, I would say, between 7 to 10 times as many people just come to see me, which I thought was wonderful because, with your wife and you, I love people. I'll sit there and talk all day.
Yeah, that's true.
But when we did Hatchet 2 and the one I got chainsawed up the middle, I did not talk in there. All I did was mouth a few words, right? And when we were all signing the autographs, not at Scarefest, out here at this place, these two guys pull up and they said, will you sign our poster? I said, yeah, I'd be glad to. And they kind of looked startled for a second, and they said, "Wait, you can't talk." I said, "Well, yeah, I can." And they said, "No, the forum board said you were hired because you're mute." And I said, "Well, that's not right, is it?" He goes, "You can't talk." And I went, "Dumbass, I'm talking to you." How can you
that'd be $50 for the autograph.
I'm looking at you. You see my mouth moving. Words are coming out.
Oh, that's great.
People amaze me.
Yep, they do. They're amazing.
Okay, everybody. We're going to close the show out now. I want to thank Rick for sticking around a few extra minutes to maybe I can just cut that whole segment out where we couldn't hear anything. Anyway, this has been Scarefest Radio. I'm glad everybody could join us tonight. I do want to give special thanks to Rick for doing all the inside baseball stuff that Chris and I like to do when we have a paranormal person on the show. Everybody, next week we have Nick Brown. You know him from Scarefest. He's the media coordinator / director. But next week we're talking werewolf stuff. We're just
there you go.
Deep into werewolf culture. That's what his speech was about. I want to find out what he talked about. So anyway, that's what we're going to be talking about next week. This has been Scarefest Radio.